Hi everyone, it's Catherine here from Inky Finger Cat, back with another Christmas in July project, and today's theme is Get Cosy. So think woolly jumpers and snuggly and warm, and in my case, cute little animals in woolly jumpers. Why not? So I wanted to use, apologies, my goodness me, that's very wobbly. So apologies that when I ink blend, especially when I go quite heavy, which I'm going to go on this, it makes the camera wobble, and I'm really sorry. I hadn't realised it was quite as bad as it was, and now I'm regretting the fact that I do two different panels. Anyway, I'm using an Alter New stencil, which I cannot remember the name of. Cozy Knit, something like that. And it's just two stencils that you layer on top of each other so you can get two different colours or two different tones to the knitwear, and it gives you a full panel of a knitted something or other. But as you can see here, it's got kind of a pattern to it, so it's very cute. I just had a panel of sort of almost 6x4, I think it was, and then this other panel here off to the side, so I thought, well, I'll just do those and then I'll decide what I'm doing from there on. At this point, I didn't know I was going to make tags. I didn't have a clue what I was going to do. I just knew I wanted to use this stencil, and I wanted to use this very old Making Cards Magazines stamp set, which came with the magazine years ago, and I love it. And originally I was just going to stamp a few of the images, and I thought, do you know what? No, let's stamp the whole sheet. Using my stamp platform, so I just washi tape the whole sheet in place, and it's just easier then. And this is definitely something I'd recommend, and I've told you on different videos before, is stamp all of the images and do all of your colouring. So colour everything that you want to do in blue, do blue, and then pick up the next pen and do everything that you want in the next colour, etc. I did contemplate double stamping it, but it wasn't quite enough room on the cardstock, and I thought, no, come on, you're going to be here forever anyway colouring these. And I have ended up with some leftover images, and that's fine, because I'm just going to pop them in the pouch when I tidy up my desk very shortly. I'll just pop them in the pouch, put them in the Christmas box, and then they're ready to go for another project at some point. These images are just the cutest things ever. So you've got all sorts of different creatures, and they're all wearing the woolly jumpers and the scarves, etc. And yeah, but they're quite small. So think my favourite things stamps that I used a few weeks ago, it'll be now, when I did tags last time, they were quite small images. These are perfect for tags. They're perfect for a card, but they are quite small images. But these are the sorts of things that are perfect. And sometimes when you get stamp sets, you get some that are bigger images and some that are smaller. So think small stamp sets when you're thinking tags. Obviously, at this point, I wasn't thinking tags. I just didn't know what I was going to do. I'm just choosing to colour them in colours that I think will go with the inks I've chosen for that cute knitwear. That's all I'm thinking at this point. So I'm just concentrating on colouring in all of the knitwear. I've done a fair amount of sort of like grey for the animals. I've kept them kind of neutral. The little deer, the little fawn on the bottom left hand side, I do end up adding a little brown to, but the rest of the animals I keep to black, white and grey, with a little add a bit of pink occasionally. So like in the ears of the rabbits, or yeah, I did add a little bit of pink. So I've gone with sort of tealy colours for the blues that I've used. They're sort of a bluey green colour. And then, yeah, I'm now adding pink in. I have coloured in a couple of the gift boxes. One of them didn't stamp very well, so I didn't bother with that one. And that's the joy when you stamp a whole stamp set like this, because it really doesn't matter. You're going to just stamp them all down, and if you don't use them, you don't use them. It really doesn't matter. So just finishing off my colouring. As I said, I have sped this up a little bit. Most of my videos I do at like 4 times the speed, but I think I got it up to about 6 or 7 times the speed at this point. So yes, I am going to finish up the colouring, and then I'm going to fussy cut them all. There aren't dies that exist for these, unfortunately. And to be honest, they're quite tiny and they're quite fiddly. I don't mind fussy cutting when they're this sort of like small. I think it's fine. And they're not difficult shapes. And I'm usually just concentrating on whatever I'm doing. I normally say I'm listening to an audiobook, but I wasn't today. I haven't put one on. But yeah, normally that's what I'm doing. Whereas instead I'm just literally mindless. Well, I suppose in some ways it's mindful. I'm being mindful. I'm just concentrating on what I'm doing for a change rather than multiple things at the same time. We got back from holiday a couple of days ago, so I am madly trying to now get a little bit ahead on my videos, because when I go back to work tomorrow, which will be in the past for you, but when I go back to work tomorrow, there's limited time for me to do many videos in an evening, so I'm trying to get a little bit ahead. We've had quite an exciting day today as well, because we've just booked to have our bathroom refitted. So ripped out and refitted. That's going to happen at the end of July. So, you know, I've really managed to fit a lot of things into July whilst doing Christmas in July, I have to say. I've been quite impressed with myself so far. Hope I get to the end of it. There you go. Right, I've chosen some pink cardstock that I think goes with the colour that I have chosen to do the ink in. Probably should have thought about this first. And now I have just cut them into little square cards that I'm able to then cut tags from. So you'll see there, what I'd done was I left the circle die just hanging over the edge. And you'll see on this, this next one, unfortunately, shifted. So it then cut a whole circle. So that changed that plan. But on this one, I managed to cut a little tag. So it becomes a little card. And I'm just, that one's got more of a squared off edge to it. And then the last one, I think I probably managed to do something slightly different with. Okay, yeah, so here we go. This one, I'm going for just a slightly bigger circle die. And these were cheap nesting dies, and they're not great. And they do pierce a tiny little hole, annoyingly, in the way that they were, they were like all attached, and my clippers don't work brilliantly at getting rid of them all. So with the final piece, I decided that that would be a card blank and the others would be tags. And so I would be turned into a card, sorry, and the others would be blanks. So I'm using that circle that I had cut, and then I'm also using this little scrap of the pink coloured rainbow foiled cardstock from Kingston Crafts, and I'm just going to create a little frame for that central piece. Okay, for the tags, I had die cut the circles out, so they're going to just be slightly framed by that pink. Some of them more of a border than the others, and I'm just gluing them in place, popping something heavy on whilst it dries. And you'll see here, this is what I tend to do, is I will do all my die cutting as a batch, etc., and then I'll layer up all at the same time. I did contemplate adding an extra circle and then change my mind using the punch. And then I'm just choosing which of my little elements, which of my little animals do I want to include. And I decided for this little wolf, I wanted to add 2 presents. For this one, I did want another circle, but I didn't want the mirror cardstock. I just didn't think I wanted that. So instead, I did go and die cut a smaller circle, but it's bigger than that punch shape that I had. And that's perfect for my little polar bear to sit on, my little Skeens polar bear. And then this final one, I added the little owl who's got like a little reindeer hat on and has a stack of presents. So there's my 3 tags pretty much done. Now, for my card, I decided that I wanted to put that pink in the hole. So I've got it flat, and then I wanted to put the frame around the outside. But you'll see I do change this up in a minute. And I contemplated which ones I wanted, and I decided I wanted the rabbits, and then I changed my mind about something. So I went and I die cut another circle. This is me trying to work out what size do I want it to be. But I die cut another circle, and that I popped through the embossing folder, which also looks like knitwear, and I think this was the one that came free with the Spellbinders machine, so I don't know if it's one that you can buy or not, but it just gives it a little bit of an additional texture. And then I've glued my little bunny rabbits with their cute little green scarves, look like they're having a lovely little conversation there, glued them straight onto that, and I've left that onto something heavy. Now, to turn these into tags, I am just hole punching. I did use my crocodile, but you could use normal hole punch, a hole through, and then I've got this little scrap of wired chiffon type ribbon, and I'm umming and ahhing about tying a bow, and I've not quite cut, well, there isn't quite enough for it to have 3 with bows. So instead, because it's that wired ribbon, I've just scrunched it up, and I think it looks really cute. Because generally, you're just going to stick these on top of your presents, aren't you? You're not going to do much with them, so I'm absolutely fine with those as they are. But I do know we need a sentiment, so I've gone back to that My Favourite Things stamp set that I used last time I did tags, but for the images, this time I'm going to use the stamp set. And I'm going to stamp 2 of the sentiments because I wasn't quite sure which one I wanted. So I've got Merry Little Christmas, and then I've got, I think it's Warmest Winter Wishes. Warm Winter Wishes. And I stamped that 3 times too. And then I'm just going to use my scissors to cut these out. I couldn't be bothered lining it all up on the trimmer. So I just decided to cut them out with my scissors. Most of the time I get them relatively straight. Sometimes I do have to do a bit of fiddling to get it just that little bit straighter. And then I'm going to decide which one will go on which tag and which ones will go on the card. I end up with the Warm Winter Wishes, which is just slightly shorter, going on all the tags. And then the Merry Little Christmas goes on the card. And then I've just got a couple of extra sentiments now. Again, I'll just pop them in a pouch with those little animals because then I know they're all going to coordinate. And they're ready for another project at some point in the future. I did just decide to add Wink of Stella to all of my little images. I didn't want to put glitter glue on. I just wanted them to have that little bit of shimmer, a little bit of shine. And so where there's the coloured, either the knitwear or the presents, I've just gone over them with my Wink of Stella. I've also stacked up my sentiments a little bit just by using scrap pieces of cardstock, cutting the thin little slithers and putting those so that they are a couple of... It's stacked up a couple of times, so I think there's 3 layers of cardstock. It just helps them give them a little bit of dimension, but without it being as bulky as something like foam tape, and also because they're just those tiny little strips. I didn't particularly want anything, that was going to then show the foam, whereas this just works. For on the card, I actually kept the sentiment flat, which is very unusual for me. And then I cut down a pre-made card blank so that it was the right sort of size for this frame. So it's sort of slightly more American sized A6. Could have absolutely trimmed that background down so that it would fit on a normal A6 card, but I went with that slightly bigger one instead. So for the little rabbits, again, I did Wink of Stella on their scarves, and then I remembered I got the Fun Flock, and that's perfect for their little cotton tails at the back. I just popped a little blob of glue and then tipped the Fun Flock onto it and then tipped it back off again, and once it's dry that'll secure it, and then they'll have little fluffy tails. I did add some sequins to my tags. I didn't add any to my card, but I did to my tags. I just added 3 sequins, so each one is got a different coloured sequin. So there's a pink on the first one with the polar bear, the owl is getting some blue ones, and the little wolf is getting some clear ones. I just thought it added a little bit of fun to the top of the tags, and that is me done. So yeah, excuse me whilst I tidy up. So 3 tags done, 1 card. I've got some spares left over for another project at some point in the future. I think these are really cute. Absolutely well and truly goes with the theme of Get Cosy with those cute little knitwear. And it was nice to do a non-traditional coloured card and those cute tags. I think that it was quite nice to do something that was just a little bit different, fresh and pretty. Really cute. I mean, look at those rabbits. They're just the cutest. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Please do give me a thumbs up if you did. It was nice to make tags that were different shape as well. Remember to use your dies to create little cards, etc. Please do subscribe to see more. Until next time, bye-bye.